All right, just because Republicans are busy with debates, and in fact, no sooner was last night's done than they were talking about next month's debate on Fox Business. Fact of the matter is, Democrats are not nearly so busy arranging such events. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joins us right now. He is a presidential candidate challenging the President of the United States. Robert, it's always good to have you. It doesn't look, and especially when we were hearing from Cedric Richmond, the Biden-Harris campaign chief, that a debate is in the offing for you or the Democratic Party. What do you think?
Well, we're going to keep asking for a debate. I don't know whether we're going to get one. I think it's, there's so many people. We're living in an era now, Neil, where there's so many people who have lost faith in democracy. They think the system is rigged, that the economic system is rigged, that the political system is rigged. And I think it's really important that we have elections in both political parties that look like real democracy, where there's retail politics, where the politicians have to actually go out and meet the American public, where they have to debate opponents, where we are distinguishing ourselves from the old Soviet Union, where the party would choose, the party pangerums and commissars would choose the candidates, and there was just kind of this kabuki theater of democracy rather than real retail politics. And, particularly I think it's important today because ever since the Citizens United case, politics in this country has been driven by money. So the Democratic Party already has $2 billion in its coffers. But to raise that money, it means that President Biden and high DNC officials have to spend hours every day on the phone with political donors. And they really don't have time to see what's happening on the ground in this country, where there's a level of desperation and despair like I've never seen before. And I think it's really important that very quickly our political leaders get in touch with that and understand the urgency. Last night I watched a debate, the Republican debate, and it was really surreal for me because it seemed so tone deaf. It seemed like they were throwing around kind of cliches from the Reagan era. And I'm looking at people who are sitting at their kitchen table wondering about how they're going to pay their medical bills, wondering about how they're going to, they're going to get the kids out of the house because nobody can afford a house anymore, how they're going to pay for food, how they're going to pay for fuel. And none of those issues was discussed. Nobody was offering policies of, here's what I'm going to do to help the declining middle class in this country.
But do you feel, Robert, that part of it is that you're kind of a problem in that environment, not you individually, but that you're kind of like a man without a political island here, that you have many in your own party, many in your own family who are aghast at you running for president and challenging an incumbent Democratic president. And you seem to be greeted favorably with many on the right. You've appeared on a Joe Rogan podcast. You have said you like a lot of what you've heard out of Vivek Ramaswamy. Ron DeSantis has in the past suggested you as an ideal FTA head. That there does seem to be more interest and respect for you on the Republican side than the Democratic side. What do you think?
I think if you look at the issues that I stand for and you compare them to, for example, the issues that my father, Robert Kennedy, my uncle, John F. Kennedy, stood for, you could go down the line and check every single one of them off. I'm a traditional Kennedy Democrat, a traditional liberal, anti-war, skeptical of the military-industrial complex. I want our economic policies to respond to the working poor, the working class in this country, rather than to the needs of Wall Street. I want press freedom, freedom of speech in this country, all the things that the environment, a clean environment, and women's right to bodily autonomy, all the issues that are traditional liberal issues are issues that I, believe in, that I'm fighting for. And incidentally, Neil, I'm getting huge response. I mean, last night I was in Richmond And with a rally that we scheduled 24 hours before, and we were sold out, all almost 500 people almost instantly. I'm getting the same response everywhere I go. My polling numbers are now within shooting distance in the key early primary states of President Biden. So I'm doing well with Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and that's what I set out to do, to try to find that.
Well, no, you're quite right, and we lose sight of that, Robert, that it is a state-by-state battle. As Chris Christie was saying in another segment here, that is what matters, because we don't have a national primary. We have a series of states, of course, caucuses, and then the primaries. But having said all of that, there are people like Robert Reich, of course, who was a former Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, Labor Secretary, I apologize, who is worried about your emergence. He said that your candidacy saddens him, that he, referring to you, said he could have done something meaningful with his life and his name. Earlier on, he showed such promise as a staunch environmentalist. Goes on to say that the candidacy that's emerged has disappointed him. And it gets back to what we were saying, or I was trying to bring up, not so eloquently, Robert, that you're this man lost between two parties. Would you ever consider a run as a third-party candidate?
No, I'm a Democrat. I'm a traditional Democrat, and part of my mission here is to summons the Democratic Party back to its traditional ideals. And I'm not surprised that the people who are aligned with the DNC, people who are closely aligned with the White House, are troubled by my candidacy. I'm a threat to President Biden. And, I would love to debate Robert Reich about what he thinks the problem is with me or any other Democrat. I think the reaction to me is oftentimes those who have negative reactions to me are oftentimes reacting to secondhand characterizations of my positions that they're hearing from MSNBC and CNN that are simply not accurate.
Yeah.
When people talk to me in person and hear my ideas and the reasons I'm running, I have a very, very high conversion rate. And I think most people are surprised to find out that that my positions are pretty much common sense.
And they are resonating with a lot of people, and a lot of people are imitating you. And you do pack these venues, to be fair, Robert. I do know that some are trying to even copy you when it comes to even little things, like maybe physical workouts. I noticed Vivek Ramaswamy has his own workout video, a shirtless tennis scene, and I'm thinking of you with the weightlifting thing, and I'm wondering what you started here.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen Vivek without his shirt on, but
well, this is him working out with his wife. He's obviously big in working out. I know you are as well. We're kindred souls there, Robbie. I'm a workout machine myself, but enough about me. What do you make of this direction? Because you've started something, and I don't know who's next or what's next, but this is important to a lot of folks. Maybe a response to, having older guys leading each ticket for the time being.
Well, my uncle, John Kennedy, when he became president, he launched the President's Council on Physical Fitness because he believed it was important for Americans to be in shape. And today we have the highest chronic disease burden on earth. We have 64% of Americans now suffer from chronic disease, and that's one of the reasons we had the highest death rate from COVID in the world. We have only 4.2% of the global population, but we had 16% of the COVID deaths in this country. Why was that? Well, one reason is bad management, but the other reason is we have the highest chronic disease burden in the world, and the CDC itself has acknowledged that the average person who died from COVID in the United States had 3.8 chronic diseases. So they had obesity, they had diabetes, they had asthma, and others. Right. And so if we really care about public health in this country and about stopping the deaths from chronic disease, we need to start caring for ourselves. And I think it's good for our political leadership, whether it's Vivek or whoever. Yeah. To try to inspire the American public to get back in shape.
Well, if you could just inspire us with something that wasn't so strenuous, like miniature golf, that came to my mind. But Robert, it's great seeing you again. Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you very much, Neil.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
GOP presidential candidates right now trying to build off any momentum gained from this week's primary debate as they look ahead to the second debate set for September 27th on Fox Business. For the latest from the campaign trail, we are now joined live by Florida Congressman and Trump surrogate Byron Donalds, as well as Georgia Congressman and DeSantis surrogate Rich McCormick. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining me today on your Saturday. We so appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Congressman Donalds, I just want to get this out of the way for folks at home. Will the former president do any debates, you think, even if he becomes a nominee? Do you think he'll go toe-to-toe with President Biden?
Well, I'll tell you right now, once we finish this up, and I believe Donald Trump's going to be the nominee, will he debate Joe Biden? Absolutely. No doubt about that. I think the question is, will Joe Biden debate or will he hide in his basement? I think with respect to the other primary challengers, at some point, I fully anticipate that the president is going to debate. But let's be very clear. His lead is so massive. It was really important for these other candidates to demonstrate that they could even really get on his level. And so I think at some point the president will debate. But right now, he decided that it's not really important right now. And I think you could have saw that from the other night.
Okay, well, I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that would love to see him on that debate stage. I want to ask you, Congressman, Governor DeSantis raised more than $1 million in the 24 hours after this debate. That was a huge boost for him in his campaign. He's still stuck in second place, though. Pretty wide lead that the former president has. Congressman McCormick, there's been changes in the DeSantis campaign. Does he need to change anything else, or is this the way things are going to go and he's happy with how things are going?
Well, I think time will tell. I think he had a strong debate performance. I think it was a great win for everybody in the debate because you actually got to see people void of the vacuum of things that people didn't want to hear about. They actually got to hear about policy. They got to compare and contrast different leadership styles. Everybody's talking about the debate. I didn't hear much about what Trump said on Tucker. I don't think that's the consequential conversation that happened that evening. I think it was a great opportunity for DeSantis to make a strong opinion on why he's led his state in great ways, why they've extended their lead by 19 points in popularity while taking on some very real challenges. He's able to raise a lot of money. He's got a war chest. He's ready to go. I think in November, if he goes against Newsom in a debate where he gets to compare California versus Florida, the contrast will be real and distinguishable, and he'll show himself as a leader of this great nation.
Okay, let's pull up call for number one because I want to talk about the issue that everyone wants to talk about right now. That's the economy. It is still leading as the most important issue facing this country. It is at 38%, far, far higher than the rest. Immigration, guns, climate change, all of that comes much, much down the list there. Congressman Donalds, the former president has a lot of legal issues on his hands. The court dates, a very busy schedule, it seems like, for the next year. How does he get back to focusing on the issues that Americans feel like they are, in pain over every single day? Gas prices, food prices, the price of everything is up, and it hurts at home.
Well, look, I think what's going to happen is Donald Trump, in a lot of respects, is going to lean on his professional career. Look, when you're in real estate development, you are accustomed to having to juggle multiple balls all at the same time. You got different projects, different timelines. This is going to be no different. His legal team is going to handle the legal stuff, and he'll take care of that. But at the end of the day, the American people know full well that when Donald Trump was president of the United States, our economy was booming and bustling. Every demographic was making money, building wealth, and getting ahead in America. That is the core message of our campaign. And the proof is in the pudding. He has done this job and did it extremely well. Everybody else running, we don't know what kind of job they will do. And we know Joe Biden has done a disastrous job.
Yeah, he's definitely got a resume to lean on. Let me follow up with this really quickly, though, because some of the points that the candidates are making right now on the trail is that Donald Trump may become the nominee, right? He has the lead, almost a 40% lead. It is significant. However, he needs independence, and he might not win the general election. Take a listen to what Nikki Haley said.
3/4 of the American people don't want to see Biden and Trump run again. And the majority of Americans, he is the most disliked politician in all of America. That's reality. And that person can't win a general election.
So that's harsh. Congressman Donalds, how do you respond to that?
Well, the first thing I would say is there's no poll that shows anybody in the Republican Party has any numbers that even are close to Joe Biden right now, except Donald Trump. He's the only one that's right there, and in some polls actually beating Joe Biden. That's number one. Number two, you got to understand Donald Trump has been pilloried by the Democrats and the crazy media for 6 years now, and he is still standing, still fighting for our country. And Americans are starting to see the difference when you have somebody who's had the track record of putting America first against the crazy left and the media that does not tell the truth. I think the American people are going to see through that. And when a decision is made between Donald Trump or Joe Biden, I mean, come on. It's not even close. It's Donald Trump all day long.
Congressman McCormick, I'll have you respond, but I also want to find out how the governor plans to win those independents, win those folks that are going to be needed for any GOP nominee.
Well, first of all, realize we're very early. DeSantis is leading in several early states. There's going to be momentum involved with this. If you want to talk about growing popularity, I want to win. I want to keep Congress. I want to make sure we win the House. The person we select to represent us in the primary will have a direct impact on who wins the House. People need to consider that. We also need to consider a guy who they say, oh, he's unlikable. That's not true. He won by almost 20 points after barely winning the first election. His policies work. You talk about the economy being the most important policy issue at hand. He's grown the economy by more than any other state. He's attracted people from all over the United States. While California and New York are shrinking, losing $1 trillion of combined economy in the last 4 years, Florida has exploded, attracted more people with more wealth, has done all the things that make it more Republican, more conservative, and booming. That's what's going to lead us into the future.
Well, you both are right. We've still got a lot of time before Election Day, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Well, we start with the Fox News alert. A shakeup to the 2024 White House race could be afoot. A third-party political group says it is poised to launch its own presidential bid, especially if we end up seeing a rematch of 2020. I'm Shannon Bream, and today for Harris Faulkner. This group, No Labels, founded in 2010, is working to become registered in as many states as possible ahead of next year's election. Already, the organization has secured registration in 10 states, including Arizona. That state, well, it's a swing state, and of course it was pivotal in Joe Biden's 2020 win. Maryland's former Republican governor Larry Hogan serves as No Labels national co-chair. Here he is talking about all of this earlier this week.
I think we're at a point that we've never been in this country where 2/3 of the people are not interested in voting for the Republican or Democratic nominee. If Trump and Biden are the nominees, it's very likely that No Labels will get access to the ballot and will offer an alternative. And, if most of the voters don't want A or B, we have an obligation to give them C.
Mark Meredith has more from Washington. It's creating a lot of agita, Mark, in some circles there.
Yeah, Shannon, it's going to be fun to watch no matter what. For years, third-party candidates have tried to gain ground with voters, but the group you're talking about, No Labels, says next year may be different. It's taking steps now to establish itself in multiple states so it can potentially launch a presidential bid in 2024. Gallup surveys voters every month, asking them how they see themselves. The latest poll showed 45% labeled themselves as independents compared to 27% Republican and 25% Democrat. No Labels says it hears from voters often who are fed up with the status quo. Now, the group, as you mentioned, it's not new. It's been around a few years, but it's taking its most serious steps yet to potentially launch a national campaign. It's gained ballot access in 10 states, most recently North Carolina. The group says it hopes to double that number. It wants to be set up in 20 states by the end of this year. And essentially what they're doing is laying the groundwork now to get an unnamed candidate on the ballot. But No Labels also tells us it's not guaranteed the group will launch a so-called unity ticket.
We don't know if we're going to nominate a ticket. We have to be patient. We are a political eternity away from next spring. Lots of things could happen. All right, and so, but to lay out that infrastructure and that groundwork and securing the ballot across this country takes a bit of time.
The group has yet to say who it would nominate, but it argues voters would be disappointed with a Trump-Biden rematch. Other activist groups say they're worried, though, that no labels means a guaranteed second Trump term. The left-leaning group Third Way says a no labels ticket cannot win the presidency and will be a spoiler that reelects Trump. Now, No Labels insists it would abandon any bid if it thought it was boosting the former president in his campaign. And the group says, Shannon, it's likely to decide its next steps after Super Tuesday, which is in early March. So they still have some time here, but it is fascinating. They are laying the groundwork. Shannon.
Yeah, and I'll have one of the co-founders, former Senator Joe Lieberman, with me on Fox News Sunday to talk more about this and all of those concerns you raised. All right, Mark, thank you very much.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.